Have you ever spent hours working on something small, something repetitive, something almost invisible, and suddenly wondered
Almost
whether
there.
any of it actually matters at all? Because when you look at your daily effort too closely, life can start to feel like stacking tiny bricks without knowing what the final building looks like. You wake up, do the same tasks, solve the same problems, and sometimes it feels less like progress and more like quiet exhaustion. But there is an old story about a tower builder that explains why the smallest actions can quietly shape the biggest outcomes. A traveler once walked through a dusty town where hundreds of workers were busy carrying stones under the burning afternoon sun. Curious about what they were building,
Excuse me, friend.
he
How
stopped
many years have
beside
you
the
been doing
first
this?
worker and
Longer than
asked
you've
what he
been
was
alive.
doing all day. The man wiped sweat from his forehead and sighed before answering that he was simply cutting stones and nothing more. His voice carried frustration. Like every swing of his hammer was a reminder of how endless the work felt. The traveler walked a little further and asked another worker
Excuse me,
the same
I'm looking for the
question
site
about
foreman.
what he was doing. The second man smiled slightly and said he was building a wall that would protect the town for generations. The same stone, the same hammer, the same dust in the air. Yet the meaning of the work suddenly sounded very different. Finally, the traveler reached a third worker, standing quietly on a pile of stones with focused and careful movements. When asked the same question, the man looked up at the horizon and said he was building a tower that people would see for miles. He described how travelers would use it as a guide, how children would point at it with wonder, and how the town would remember it for centuries. And the traveler realized something powerful in that moment. Something many people miss in their own lives. All three workers were doing the exact same task, yet only one of them felt inspired by the work. The difference was not in their tools, their strength, or their pay. The difference was the picture they held in their mind while doing the work. Most people lose motivation, not because the work is difficult, but because they only see the stone in their hands. When your world becomes only today's task, today's stress, and today's tiredness, life shrinks into something painfully small. But when you step back and see the tower you are building, the same work begins to feel meaningful. This is why people who achieve extraordinary things often focus deeply on very ordinary actions. Writers write pages nobody will read yet. Athletes repeat movements that look boring from the outside. Entrepreneurs solve problems that seem small and invisible at first. They are not obsessed with the stone. They are committed to the tower. But here is the interesting part most people misunderstand. Seeing the big picture is important, but dreaming alone does not build towers. A beautiful vision without daily discipline is like a blueprint that never becomes a real building. This is where the true secret of the tower builder appears. He never ignored the small details. Every stone had to be measured. Every edge had to be shaped carefully. Every layer had to be placed with patience, because the higher the tower grows, the more dangerous even a tiny mistake becomes. In life, the same rule quietly applies. Your future is not built in dramatic moments. It is built in quiet mornings, small habits, and invisible discipline. The workout you almost skipped, the page you wrote, even when you felt tired, the difficult conversation you chose to handle with maturity. Each action may look small today, but they are stones that slowly shape the structure of your life. And one day, when you finally step back and look at what you have built, something surprising happens. The tower was rising the entire time, but because of thousands of careful, patient, almost invisible actions. So the next time you feel like your work is too small, too slow, or too repetitive to matter, remember the tower builder. Do not lose the big picture while doing the daily work. And do not neglect the daily work while dreaming about the big picture. Because the most meaningful lives are built exactly that way. One careful stone at a time. Maybe today, the stone in your hand is already part of something far greater than you realize.